This is genius.
This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
I've never seen so many mullets in my life.
No, it's just about feeling good.
You had more chins than a Chinese phone book for a while.
Man.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. I mean, he's right. He said, Goonies never say die. We're going.
We got this.
All right.
I was pulling the trigger, but the safety was on.
I just Randy Black Eagle.
That's it. Boom.
That's my.
That's how we roll. Just drop the mic and walk away.
I will say, though, most of my determination now is because of Luke Johnson. No, I'm just kidding. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we're going to get one. I mean, I'm getting a lot of positive encouragement from a lot of people, which is cool. I mean, it's really cool. As far as what we brought for gear, for camera gear, I'm the photo guy, and Brian, obviously the video guy. The one guy told me my bow has no soul and it's a mass-produced piece of POS. We get a lot of questions about, our setups, minus people making fun of us for getting off the phone and actually hunting. And I'm not standing on my high horse saying I shoot a self bow, because there's no way in hell I'm shooting a self bow. When I say that, I mean that in a good Christian way.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. Snyder and I are coming at you live from the Elk Mountains. Elk Woods. What is it, Aaron?
Elk Woods. No see 'em mountain.
No see 'em mountain.
No tell
That's
'em.
not true. We've been seeing elk.
Oh, Lordy.
It's been good.
Yeah, we've had elk every morning and every night.
Yep.
I've seen elk every night but one, and that was the night you saw one. Bulls every night, too. Yeah, bulls every night and every morning. So it's been good for early season. It's 9/1, so September 1st. But this morning, we almost, if Brian had a bow in his hand, we would have had a bull on the ground. But Brian had a camera, and I was not where Brian was.
We're in a unit where I don't have a tag. Aaron drew. So, oh, man, it was so close, so close.
Got it on video.
We're basically in a spot right now where we haven't heard a bugle since the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Since day one. Or cow calls or anything. Like it's dead silent. The bulls aren't bugling at night. They're not doing it in the morning. We've covered country. They're just not talking.
But like last night, that bull came in from my vision from the first time I see it was probably 100 yards away. Then I saw him again 50, 40, basically all the way into 16, 18 yards.
Yeah.
Didn't make a peep, nothing. And
Not
he was a
sound.
decent bull, like that one this morning.
Yeah. So what we've been doing is just cold calling. Some of you know what that is. Some of you may not, but kind of what that means is when the elk are not talking and it's early season like this, if we could find a bull, in a herded up group or whatever, then we might try to, do a cows calling bull bugle or a challenge bugle or something like that. But right now where they're not talking at all, and it's so thick, we can't even find them, So
You're kind of just hoping they come in.
Yeah.
In an area I can shoot them.
So basically, I just try to sound like an entire herd.
And he does a very good job.
And then Aaron, usually how this would work is Aaron would set up downwind of me, wherever I'm set up, because the elk, especially right now where they're not amped up with their hormones yet and they're a little cautious, the elk will tend to circle downwind and wind check us. So if Aaron is downwind of me, he's going to intercept them when they come in. And it pretty much works like a charm, except for when it doesn't.
Because the first time we set up, not today, but the first time, Brian's like, they're going to whatever, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. And then that son of a didn't care about the wind at all. Ran straight at him. Didn't even worry about the wind. And so this morning, like Brian was here and the wind's blowing straight down and I was here. Well,
so people are listening, so they don't know what that means.
Brian was basically, so I'm a little slow on the uptake. Brian was down and to my left, behind me and to my left as I'm facing up the hill. I'm to the right of him, 75 yards and up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, something like that.
You're upwind of me, though.
the reason why I was upwind in this case, there was a giant aspen grove that was
Yes.
wide open. And I'm thinking nothing's going to come out in that. They're probably going to skirt the edge right to me on the way to hooking him.
Exactly.
Or the way to hooking the wind.
So even though you were upwind, we thought we had a barrier that would prevent them from circling to get our wind on behind us. So we thought you'd catch them on the upside as they circled.
Because right on that edge, in my experience, when they have something like that, it's not a migration barrier. It's more of a handrail that they won't cross. They'll come right on the edge of that handrail where they have the cover of the woods. And that's where I was thinking it would work perfect. What happened was...
The thing is conservatively, though, eventually they'll almost always get downwind.
Right. And if they would have come to the right downwind...
Yep, you'd have intercepted them. But they came from the left downwind. Either way, though, I think it's a rookie mistake. We should have had you downwind of me, period.
Yeah, well, and I couldn't really have gotten downwind of you on the side I was at.
Yeah.
There's nothing to get to, which is kind of what I was leading to. The way that the wind started to shift would immediately say Snyder moved to the left side of Cole, not Brian, not to the right side of him. And if I was in the exact same position on the left side of you, I would have had a 2-yard shot. They came right to you, basically.
Yeah, I got some video on the phone, which I'll post later. But good bull. There's a couple bulls in the group. About 10 or 15 cows. It's a big group.
Yeah.
And they all came in. The lead cow was up in front. And that was another thing is when they're herded up and the lead cow is coming in, they always wind check.
The lead cow is much better at wind checking than the...
the bulls by themselves, like the loner last night.
Yeah, these came right at
They just
us.
come right at you sometimes. I mean, they don't bother checking the wind. But the cows, it's like my experience has been they just always check.
Yeah, and that happened the other morning with this same group of elk when we were after the cow. The lead cow was the one I actually had a shot at. It's a big cow. She got sent as the scout. She got sent up front to check for danger. Same thing happened. I didn't see it. Obviously, Brian did. And the thing is I know, and Brian's right. It's definitely, I need to be downwind of him or at least side wind one way or another, depending upon what's behind us. But like, I have to say, I could have set up to the left of you and the exact same thing would have happened if they came in on the right. You know what I mean, you're trying to paint the picture of,
It's a guess
it's a
every
gamble.
time.
And
Like last night, that bull came into 16 yards with you, and so people know that we were kind of in a cut, and there was really rocky outcrops on either side, left or right. So, and then we knew that the elk were up on this ridge top, so we had a pretty good idea that they weren't going to wind check us.
he would have had to have run 5 miles and wind check.
Yeah.
He would have had to circle way forward.
And so most likely he's just going to come straight at us. And
But we didn't do anything wrong last night. That was perfect.
no, that was textbook. It worked exactly as we planned. The bull came into 16 yards. And what I was confused by is why Aron didn't kill it if it came into 16 yards.
Yeah, it is different with the recurve. The one where it was standing, like Brian seen the camera view and a foot of difference from the camera view to where I was.
Right, because you were running the GoPro, so we have this bull doing its thing on a GoPro.
And there's a hole, which with a compound shooter, you would have taken it. But you'll see on the big screen, the arc of the arrow, I wouldn't have made it through. And with the arc of a compound arrow at that distance, there is no arc. I mean, there is, but it's flat. Where with mine, even at 16, 18 yards, there's probably a foot of arc, give or take.
Yeah.
That hole in his vitals, if you look, those branches were about 12 to 14 yards from me, and then he was another 2 to 4 yards past that. And it was a shot that I was more certain of hitting it in the stomach than I was in the the kill zone. Not only that, its entire kill zone from where I was covered with branches. Brian seen the camera angle where, I'm to the left of the camera. All I could see was basically the stomach and butt. Which, I mean, the other thing too is I'm learning with the struggle stick, why risk a shot when 2 more steps and I've got an open thing I could drive a truck through. So I'm thinking in my mind, okay, he's just going to take 2 more steps. I've got the tree to draw behind that you can see in the video,
and the wind was hard in our face.
Yeah.
Hard. It was stormy kind of.
Yep.
And wind was great.
Until it wasn't.
You needed 2 steps, and you drilled them.
Yep.
And the wind was blowing hard in our face. So it made a lot of sense just to wait. But the reality is the wind switched hard right then. And Aaron texted me on the phone. He's like, bull is coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sweet. And then I feel the wind switch just hit the back of my head and blow up the hill. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
And it was literally, and I think it just caught a tail of the wind. I don't think it got, because it definitely did the wind whirl and blew out. But it ran like 100, 150, I don't know, whatever. It ran up the hill and then it stopped for just a second. And then it took off again. But either way, like tonight we're going to try and use, we think, there's this giant like willow thicket that you couldn't drive a bulldozer through. And that is definitely a good barrier to set up for calling, to use that behind you where they can't sneak in behind you. They have to come around that thing. And not that I'm like the world's greatest caller or elk hunter, but it does it's pretty common sense once you screwed up enough of what you should do. And using like what I call a migration barrier, which makes no sense to elk call elk, but it's basically, it's a handrail that they have to follow to help you in your calling to determine where they're going to come from, which in the case of this morning, we really had none of those because it was a giant flat bench.
We're just using terrain features basically as best we can to try to predict which direction the elk are going to come through. With early season calling, the game is won at the setup.
Yeah.
And if you can predict where they're going to come.
Yep.
So it's a matter of the wind, the terrain. The decoy has helped, actually.
Yeah.
Those elk today saw that decoy, and when they probably would have ran off earlier than they did, they just kind of stood there and they kept coming in. But they didn't come directly. They saw the decoy and they're like, yeah, but we're still going to check the wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still going to smell them.
And either way, even if they would have come right to the decoy where I was positioned, I wouldn't have got a shot. Brian just would have got cooler film. But they got close. They were close to you. It's interesting in early season calling because you do get guys that, everybody has their own like specific technique or their own, but to do some of those techniques, you have to know where the elk are. And that is the biggest problem. Like that's what we're talking about. When you're cold calling, when they're not making noise, it's a guess. It's a gamble. You're guessing where the elk are from your knowledge or, just looking at the terrain and vegetation, but you can be off a matter of yards in your setup and not have a shot, meaning specifically with a stick bow. But, that's another thing. That's another problem. You can't hold the stick bow back for very long. So I have to be very, very, very careful that I'm not used to doing that with my shooting lanes when I can draw, because I can see a bull at 50 with a compound and draw back when he's walking in, when he's behind a specific tree, where now when there's a bullet, I have to make sure I have room to draw when the bull is fairly close to me and him not see me. And that's something new for me. I'm not used to that.
Oh, yeah. Basically, we'd have tagged out by now if you had a compound.
Yes,
we had multiple opportunities, which is, that's fine. That's part of why, that's the whole stick bow challenge.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It is a challenge. It's been cool. It's good, though.
Dude, it is fun to, I'm not shooting the stick bow except for I take Aaron's out. But
there's a mystique to it.
There is. And it is cool. Like, Aaron has probably shot his judo or his, what do you call that? Your stump
it's a
arrow.
Small game head, yeah.
You've shot that at, I don't know, you probably shot that 500 shots.
I shoot a lot
since we've been here.
Yeah.
And that arrow is not broke. It's the same arrow. It's the Black Eagle Vintage.
It's kind of a fake wood looking.
Yep. They're pretty, dude.
They're tougher than, I mean, it's harder than a coffin nail. That thing.
You have not broke it.
I broke one arrow in the entire time I've had these. Now I've lost some, which I can't, take that back. But the thing with, with shooting is, or with shooting the stick bow, compound, you really don't, other than confirm.
No, I would have broke a ton of arrows if I tried to shoot like you do.
Yeah, and with here, I get practice. Like I was telling Brian, I've got to work on this, and I'll take a few shots around camp, or I've got to make sure I can squat down and do this, which is super, super helpful. But I think the other thing that, we get a lot of questions about, our setups, minus people making fun of us for getting off the phone and actually hunting. As far as what we brought for gear, for camera gear, I'm the photo guy, and Brian, obviously the video guy. I've got a Canon 5D Mark III in my pack with a fairly high end Canon L series lens. It's actually a little bit more affordable one. It's a 17 to 40. Mm-hmm. Now, to give you an idea, I had to choose from lenses at the house. I've got I brought a fisheye as well, but I have a fisheye, a 14 millimeter 2.8, a 24 millimeter 1.8, a 35 millimeter 1.8, 90 millimeter macro, 24 to 70 2.8, 85 millimeter macro. No, I've got 85 and 100 macro. The moral of the story here, I brought the 17 to 40 because for what I do is mostly landscape and camp shots. It's an f4, which is okay for speed. When I say speed, meaning it doesn't matter. We're not going to go into that. But it's a decent lens. It takes great photos. I got a little bit of zoom on it, and it's light. So that's why I brought that. I mean, because I have much better lenses. That 24 millimeter 1.8 is one of the best lenses ever made. But it's if I was just taking landscaping photos, it'd be great. But sometimes I'll get Brian and I need to zoom in while he's filming or whatever to help tell the story a little bit. And then I've got my Sony RX100, the 3rd edition, in my pocket for my my belt pouch for just snapping photos. I don't have time to get my other camera out. And then I've got Brian's GoPro and the selfie stick, the walking stick on me. And then Brian has, what all you got?
Yeah, I've got this Tamron 70 to 200 millimeter lens. It's a 2.8, and I've got this. The first few days we were in here, I had the Canon 1 to 400 millimeter.
That'll reach out and touch something.
Yeah, you can see the future with that.
And you have a doubler with it too.
And I have a doubler, which makes it an 800 millimeter lens, and it doesn't work so well with my Canon 70D, just because it's such a slow lens once you jump it out to 800 millimeters. I have those long lenses, and they're not that fast. So I've been using this Sony A7S II as my
primary.
Well, as my long distance camera.
Yeah.
For all my other shots that I get, the short range stuff, I have a 18 to 35 millimeter Sigma lens that I threw on the Canon 70D, and it's really easy. After using the Canon and the Sony, I find that the screen to video is so much easier to use, and it's a lot easier for me to acquire exposure quickly and to get a good look with my Canon. I don't think it is as much to do with just practice with the two different cameras, because I am much more familiar with the Canon, as much as the Canon is just easier. I mean, the screen is just more true to image and stuff like that. So
it was like that for me with photography. We talked about that, and I said that the Canons are for, when I said that, I was being funny, but the Canons are for dummies. But what I mean by that is they're just easier in a lot of ways. I really like that Sony.
There's no question it crushes the Canon when I've got,
low light.
Yeah, when I'm poked out as far as I can with that lens, I can barely see. It's darker than dark with the Canon, and with the Sony, it's bright as day with a high ISO, and it's not grainy. So it certainly enables me to get super long range shots, but I need time
Yeah, get the exposure set
Yeah.
and everything set right. So
it's great for long distance filming for me so far, but there's not a lot of that where we're at right now.
right, and on that same note, as far as my lens selection, I brought the fisheye mostly just to get cool shots inside the teepee and an occasional, close up because I can do macro with this fisheye. But if we were in a different area, meaning more wide open, my lens selection would change, just like Brian's, significantly. Just basically because I'm going to be shooting a lot more landscape, a lot more whatever you want to call it, astronomy, a lot more star photos. Where here, last night I got a vertical shot in the circle of the trees above us at the stars, but that's about as good as it gets. We're in some pretty thick timber, and I haven't taken a ton of photos during this whole thing. I've taken a few. When I say a ton, I've probably taken 150. Normally in a more, picturesque area, I would have taken probably 1,200 by now. So there's just not that much to photograph here. Hopefully we'll photograph an elk on the ground eventually, or a deer, or both. But I think that
Before we move on, some people have asked about the podcast equipment.
yeah, that is Brian.
And basically, I've got this Zoom H6 recorder, and I've got these Shure headset boom mics. They were like $80, I think, $60 for the mics, and you can adjust the gain right here on the recorder, and it's pretty fail-proof. It gets pretty decent sound. It's easy to backpack with. So that's that setup. And I like having boom mics because it's just quick and easy. When I use a lapel pin, sometimes a guy's head turns left or right, or a shotgun mic picks up some extra noise, so I can turn the gain down pretty low with this recorder. And when Aron mumbles, you can still hear him.
I'm a mumbler.
Yep.
Yep. I don't talk really loud until I'm mad.
I've never used the stereo pin. This is my first year using it, and to filter water, basically, to kill all the bad stuff in the water. This has been sweet. I've really liked that. It's easy, convenient. I feel safe drinking the water. And you've tested it before, and found that it's reliable.
Yeah, it's reliable. Things change slightly when you have, different water sources, or what, when you have less, you don't have as many water sources. Sometimes the stereo pin can be a little bit more of a problem, but I like it. I didn't used to like it as much, but you become accustomed to anything. And the biggest thing I didn't have a problem with, I didn't like with the pump is, one, the weight, the cross contamination. You got to be careful with that. And then they will fill up, clog up, and break when it's really dirty water. But everything's got its pros and cons. The stereo pin is pretty nice though. And then we both have Gitzo tripods with us. Talk a little bit about gear. We're both running slick bags. We talked about that the other day. We have just about every piece of First Light clothing that they make. It's been cold. This is actually the first day where I can say, wow, I'm hot right now. It's been raining just like crazy, so the weather's been pretty bad.
Miserable.
Yeah, it's been miserable. The problem in here, there's a lot of vegetation to add to the issue. If there was no vegetation underground on the ground level, you wouldn't have the issue with being wet, but there's knee-deep grass everywhere. And so that pushes through boots, pushes through pants, pushes through rain gear eventually if you walk in it enough. Although we haven't really even put on our rain top. I think tonight, I bet we got a really good chance of getting one tonight. We're going to an area we haven't hunted yet. Generally, it seems like if the elk are there, they're coming. I mean, everywhere we went.
We have not. Every morning and every evening, we've called elk into our setup. We just haven't had the shots. We're refining it each time too. It's like
I could have shot the cow.
Yeah.
The one time you had that one bull come in, and if I wasn't in that case, I was positioned textbook.
Yep.
And the bull did not read the playbook. He did not know to come in downwind. And then now the other night with that, I don't think I could. I might have got a shot. That was not a difficult shot for a lot of people. 65 yards uphill. And I did probably have time to get a shot. It's just, when you see an elk at 65 yards with a stick bow, you're certainly not thinking shoot. You're thinking Snikes. How am I going to get closer? Is it going to come?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of time difference, but
I've seen you shoot though. I mean, you're effective. You're effective out to 60 with uncanny precision. I mean, walking around hitting stumps, you're like, I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit that. And that seems so far to me, but you're good.
I can shoot not good enough to hit a mule deer. I don't think that mule deer did anything wrong. But
here's one thing though about that mule deer. Something we were just talking about. We thought we'd mention is, so we were testing like the arrow and the sound of the arrow.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to do a test later and we'll report back. But, when Aron fires the arrow, it sounds like the arrow is going just flowing through the air. It sounds pretty quiet.
From behind it sounds deathly quiet.
Right. But I stand on the other end 40 yards away behind a tree and Aron fires and I hear the arrows zip by. It's loud.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because of the small game tip on there or if the arrow's just loud. So we're going to throw on a different tip and shoot it and test it. But, I'm going to out Aron right now. He's shot that arrow past me.
Purposely, actually. I thought it was plenty safe enough. I want to see how much Brian jumps because he stood down there earlier knowing the arrow was coming and he's like, it's not that bad. Well, I won 10 yards from a minute ago and he about crapped his pants. He's like, yeah, that's loud. So,
well, and the other thing too is I flinched. So I dropped down to my knees. Like I drop. If a deer does that, which much faster reflexes, I'm not sure how you're going to handle that because you better get 10 yards.
Yeah.
Or closer.
And before I get hate mail about being unsafe, it's not like I can hit Brian with where I'm shooting. He's behind several trees, but it's close enough shooting to him that I do it on purpose. I've only done it twice. I want to see Brian's reaction and he about craps his pants. And so I'm thinking, yeah, that deer ducked my string because I made good shots.
Dude, it was loud, man. It is loud. Like it scared the crap out of me both times.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're going to have to mess around with it in camp. I just didn't expect it. Now, if there was wind blowing or it was a little louder, but it's dead silent in this forest right now. So any sound like that, and I'm a flincher. Like my friends can attest when they jump out to scare me. I've hit more than one in the face, just as a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So the arrows are loud.
I'm jumpy.
I'm excited though. It's going to pay off here soon. We're going to get one. It's just a matter of time. We got to go back this weekend. I got to go to work Tuesday. Brian's going to hang out with the family Sunday. I'll probably do the same. My wife's going on a trip, and then I may go hunt a different spot for mule deer on Monday, which I think Brian's going to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I may say, hey, I don't want to go to work Tuesday and not go elk hunting again.
So far.
But yeah, I think it's time. We're going to take a nap, and we got Mothra inside the tut here. That's a big moth.
That is a big one. Yeah, Aron is most chipper in the morning. Right about now is the afternoon lull. You see it in his eyes.
Coffee wears off.
So he sleeps and wakes up and he's like amped again.
Yeah, I usually like yesterday I only got a 20-minute nap, but it was a good one. And then yesterday I got a migraine, which sucked. But I took my pill and didn't get the actual headache. I just got the blurry vision. But what I should have thought about, but battery life is so precious here, setting my alarm. That pill has long-term effects. When I say long-term, meaning it knocks me out that night. And I woke up this morning, and it was like right at legal shooting light. And I'm like, Brian, wake up. And we still got up to we're not that far from camp. I mean, we were motoring up the side of the mountain, though. I thought Brian's poor little heart was going to pop out of his chest.
I do breathe hard.
I'm fat, skinny. I'm good. I don't breathe very hard climbing.
I'm hoping I adjust and get better at that. But I can hike all day. I just can't do it at the same speed.
In Brian's defense, he is tenfold better than he was when he got here. Like, you actually almost kept up with me this morning. You weren't really... I mean, you were right behind me the whole way. It's just...
The difference is, I'm right behind you the whole way. The difference is, when you get to the top, you're like, so how you doing? And I'm like, hang on. That's kind of how it goes.
I have focused all of my training on climbing mountains. That's it. I mean, I do push-ups and abs and some other stuff, but my focus has just been on this because I've literally hunted in the mountains for so long that it's gotten to the point where it's like, I don't want to be unhappy when I get to the top. Mm-hmm. And as Brian can attest, I can climb some very steep stuff and literally have my mouth closed when I'm at the top, hardly breathing. But and that's not a bragging thing. That's just an explanation in training. I have faltered in other avenues of my training to gain in climbing with a pack on. I can't squat as much. I can't deadlift. I can't do anything like that. I still do a ton of push-ups, but I've just altered my training. So, I mean, is it worth it? It is for me. Yeah. For some people, it may not be. I've lost a lot of muscle.
And it's not like it has to be either or either. You can have both.
I can't. I've already tried. You show me a guy that can have both, and I'll show you the first one I've ever seen. I've never met a guy that can climb like I'm climbing now. That has Dan Mead and Lance. They do good, but they got a lot of muscle, dude. A lot of oxygen to feed that.
Yeah, they can still go though.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying for me to stay at the level I'm at now, I can't gain a whole lot of muscle from where I'm at now.
No, that's probably true, but
yeah, you can definitely have a happy medium. I agree 100% between everything. Maybe it's from sucking so much, like climbing, like sucking wind. I like to be at the top and think, I can still have a normal conversation.
Well, believe me, I would too, you know. I'm working on it. You know?
I think you probably, it's not like, I mean, I'm crushing complete cookies and Snickers. Well, not exactly on a strict diet back here either. I mean, it's pretty unhealthy food. But, I mean, Dan and Lance, Colton, those guys are all fairly muscular. They can all climb well. It's not like they're sucking wind.
Well, it's not like you're not muscular either, dude.
Yeah.
You give me a good football shoulder. You hit me all the time. You're solid as a rock. So
I'm trying.
Not like you're soft.
I tell you what, though, these pants I'm wearing are not form-fitting. I should have gone with a medium. And it looks like I have a piece of plywood in my ass. It's horrible. And I have no butt to begin with. I can squat a lot. But I tell you what, it's like Brian films me from the behind, and as vain as this is, I'm thinking, I hope he doesn't edit that in. Like, I'm watching me hunt. It looks like I shit my pants. And he's filming from behind. I'm like, oh, those are horrible looking. I needed to size down. Needed to go one size down.
We've got, we're up here on the mountain. We've got a bunch of podcasts that are going out, and including one with Bomar, one about the UA thing. That's been interesting.
Oh Lord, our battery life when we have service, it's like a nuclear reactor going because we have got so much, hundreds of emails and messages and posts. Thanks. I'm glad you guys stood up and said what needed to be said. But one out of every 20 is just an ass clown. I mean, just straight up when I say that, I mean that in a good Christian way. But it's like the guy, I mean, he said that you were trying, one or the other, were basically kissing Under Armour's butt to get sponsored by him. And I don't know if he missed the part where I said I hate Under Armour clothing 3 times. But last time I checked, if you want a sponsor, you really want to kiss their butt, you don't tell them their clothing sucks. And so things like that have given some good conversation on the mountainside, a few chuckles. The one guy told me my bow has no soul and it's a mass-produced piece of POS, that I shouldn't be shooting that thing. What else? We've got a few other funny ones.
But about the bow, though, I was telling you that when I was at the Hoyt factory, I was surprised how much manual effort went into building it, like the machines. And you made the comment because he said you should shoot a stalker, a silver
black
tip,
arrow, Schaefer silver tip, and those are all amazing bows.
Right.
And I'd shoot any one of them. I mean, they're all great. I had a Black Widow, but primitive, they are not. I hate to tell you, in my opinion, if you're using a lathe, a planer, like machines that when the power goes out, your factory goes down. I can't really say that it's like, and I'm not standing on my high horse saying I shoot a self bow because there's no way in hell I'm shooting a self bow.
We're having a hard time getting it done with this one.
Man, but shoot. But like if you look at it, you can order a lot of the quote unquote traditional bows that have a soul with carbon limbs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure that carbon grows on trees. I did not, get the advanced schooling that some of you on YouTube have gotten, but I don't think carbon grows on limbs.
No.
I don't think a planer is something that you go pick from a field or anything like a saw, right? It takes power. So I guess what I'm getting at is rather than be an a-hole and like bash a guy getting into traditional archery, you could just be happy for everyone getting into traditional archery and the sport is growing rather than bash on his choice of his weapon of choice.
Well, and the reality is, all the bows are tough to shoot and get in close. They all have the same disadvantages when it comes to trying to kill an elk, and the same advantages too. But
yeah, and
the challenge is the same, dude.
Here's the thing: if your limit on distance is 50 yards, compound or traditional, I'd pick a stick bow without a doubt. Well, I think I'd pick a stick bow, but my limit is not 50 yards with a compound bow. And so I can kill stuff easier. There's just that bull last night, I guarantee he was at 38, 40, something like that. Looking right at me, I would have shot him in the chest without blinking an eye. Now, all of you can say that's unethical, and I don't mind because I have a stick bow now and I can't do it. But I would have shot it dead, looking at me dead in the chest.
With a compound.
With a compound. I had it at broadside at 38 with a window about 14, 12 inches wide. I could have hit it then. You saw that lane I had.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it on video a little bit on the GoPro. I actually was smart enough to turn the camera on. I got footage of it. And I have different windows you could take with a compound. But when you're shooting a stick and you've got a hole at 34, 38 yards this wide, it's not a
6 inches,
6, 8 inches. Where with a compound, I'll take that shot all day long. Won't even blink an eye. With the stick bow, didn't even cross my mind to put my fingers on the string. I'm like, not making that one today. This is how maybe at some point in time I will. And I can shoot. I mean, Brian's seen me shoot around here. I mean, I hit what I'm aiming at. It is just different. It is exciting. It's a challenge. And I've always been like a goal-oriented person. But I'm telling you, it is different than I thought it would be in a good way. Mostly there's obstacles I didn't anticipate. Feathers getting wet. Major obstacle. Now I have waterproofing on my feathers, but even still you got to baby them. You got to dry them off. The other thing that's another potential obstacle is it's 62 inches long. That's a lot of square footage to find clear room to draw it back. This morning I caught myself, I'm in a spot and I'm like, this is perfect. And then I go to hold my bow up and I hit a bunch of crap over my head and I'm like, thank God the elk didn't come in. Because I just didn't imagine that I would hit it because with a compound it would have been free and clear. So I'm learning stuff like that along the way and it's been good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we're going to get one. I mean, I'm getting a lot of positive encouragement from a lot of people, which is cool. I mean, it's really cool. My buddy Paul, he texted me. I haven't talked to Paul in a while, and he messaged me, all good stuff. Make sure your shot's not breaking down. Stay on it. Don't let the miss get in your head, the 3 misses. I'm feeling good about the 3 misses because the first 2, I don't think if I did it again, it's kind of like missing the bear the first shot. I don't think I would have been anything different. I mean, crap happens. I will say, though, most of my determination now is because of Luke Johnson. No, I'm just kidding. I love little Luke. He's so funny. Although Luke's big Luke. But he is right. I talked to him about, like, he had that elk come in that he shot. Mm-hmm. If you don't keep your mental self, like, wired tight, you can do some, I mean, you definitely, what's Joel Olstein? What's his name? Joel Turner. Joel Olstein, that's the blinker. Joel Turner. You got to keep your crap together because there is so much going through your mind. And if you don't keep your shot sequence at the forefront of it, all of that other stuff just goes to hell in a handbasket because you're like, is he go left? Is he going to go right? When do I draw?
Right.
And then you forget about the shot, which isn't good because it doesn't take much to screw up a shot with a recurve. That's for sure.
No, it's all good. Well, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, we got to make lunch.
And then take a little nap and head up to the
Elk Heaven.
Elk Heaven.
Yep, check the game cameras. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep, stay gritty.
Stay gritty.
Okay, gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty.